Okay, so today we're diving into a topic that's been weighing on you.
Yeah.
It's clear from the news articles and the social media posts and even the online petitions you shared. This whole situation with missing Black youth in Ontario, it's really heavy stuff.
For sure.
We're going to try to unpack all of it with our expert today. They can help connect the dots and hopefully make some sense of what's going on.
Yeah. I mean, what really gets me right away is just the sheer number of young men. We're talking about Kimani Langley, just 16 years old from Brampton. And then there's Aiden, just 15 from Ajax. Trayshawn, another 15-year-old, this time from Toronto. And Malachi, also 15, also from Toronto.
It's heartbreaking, so many young lives affected by this.
Yeah.
And it's even more worrying when you realize that these cases aren't isolated incidents. They seem to be part of a much bigger trend.
Exactly. And it's happening all across Ontario, not just in one place. We have Al Pacino Mignot, 25 years old, disappeared from Niagara-on-the-Lake. So it's not just a Toronto thing,
No, it really isn't. And even though some of these young men have been found, like Kimani and Trayshawn, others, like Al Pacino, are still missing. I can't even imagine what their families are going through than not knowing.
Absolutely. It's unimaginable, really. And it really underscores the urgency of this whole situation. What's especially alarming is what Toronto Police Detective Shona Patterson has said. Over half of the 200 missing youth cases in Toronto last year involved Black youth.
Wow.
That's 110 young Black individuals.
110. That's a huge number. It really puts into perspective the disproportionate impact this is having on the Black community. So we're seeing the who and the where, but the big question, of course, is why? What's behind all these disappearances? What are the sources saying?
Well, there's no easy answer, that's for sure.
Right.
Some experts think that maybe these young people are running from something, but others believe they could be running to something.
Okay, I'm curious about that. What exactly does running from something mean in this context?
Well, it could be a lot of things. Maybe mental health crises, abuse, neglect, bullying, or even really intense family conflicts. These are really tough situations, and you can see how a young person might feel like they have no other choice but to escape.
They're fleeing a bad situation, something dangerous.
Yeah, exactly. But then there's running to something, which is different and potentially even more worrying. There are concerns that some of these young men are being lured into criminal activities, maybe taken to places like Sudbury and North Bay for drug trafficking. It's a scary thought.
It really is. It's heartbreaking. They're so young, so vulnerable, easy to take advantage of.
Exactly. And this is where the systemic angle comes in,
Yeah.
There are signs that institutions meant to support these young people are failing them. I'm talking mental health services, healthcare, the criminal justice system, even education.
So it's not just about individual cases. These disappearances are pointing to much bigger problem.
Absolutely. One psychotherapist, Marcy Gray, put it really well during a virtual town hall. She said, all of our systems are failing our Black youth. And she stressed how we need to really examine each of these systems, figure out how to actually help, not just make empty promises.
That's a powerful statement. It's a call to action, for sure. Not just to find these missing individuals, but to address what's putting them at risk in the first place. But in the midst of all this, we're also seeing a strong response from the community.
Absolutely. Social media has been huge in raising awareness. People like Shanna McCalla, the host of Roots Reggae Hub, created a viral reel that was shared millions of times, and she didn't stop there. She started a change.org petition calling for action. It even got the attention of people like Benjamin Crump, the civil rights lawyer.
Wow, that's amazing. It shows how individuals can use these platforms to shine a light on crucial issues and get people to support the cause. It's not just about sharing information. It's about sparking a conversation, demanding action.
Exactly. And it's not just online either. This online activism is leading to real-world action too. There have been community meetings and town halls, both virtual and in person, with tons of people showing up. Hundreds of people desperate for answers, looking for solutions.
It sounds like there's a real sense of urgency, a collective need to protect these young people.
Absolutely. It's inspiring to see the community coming together like this in the face of this crisis. And they're not just talking, they're taking concrete steps to make a difference. For example, there's a town hall meeting coming up in North York on January 16th. At Revival Time Tabernacle. It's expected to draw a huge crowd, people eager to continue the conversation, and hopefully come up with some action plans.
That's encouraging to hear, that the community is taking such a proactive approach.
And it's not just about talking either. It's about connecting with resources and support systems. Organizations like the Brampton Black Empowerment Unit have been key in organizing these gatherings and giving people a platform to be heard. They're offering hope and real support to families and individuals who are going through this.
That's so important. Having these organizations step up and lead the charge can make a world of difference.
For sure. And they're not just focused on the immediate needs either. They're pushing for systemic change as well. They're advocating for, yeah, that's a really important point. The silence around these cases, at least initially, it says a lot about the biases we have in our society and how those biases affect what gets attention.
It's like these young men were invisible until social media gave them a voice. It makes you wonder, how many other cases are we not hearing about?
That's a chilling thought, for sure. It took outrage on social media to get these stories picked up by mainstream outlets. It just goes to show the power these platforms have. They shape public perception, and ultimately, they can even influence policy decisions. When certain stories are silenced or downplayed, it creates a really dangerous cycle, a cycle of invisibility and inaction.
So social media, in a way, it forced the media to be accountable, to finally pay attention to a crisis that was already happening.
Exactly. And it's a reminder that we can't always rely on traditional media to tell us what's important. We need to be active, amplify the voices that are often ignored, make sure their stories are heard.
It's a powerful example of how collective action can challenge those biases and create change.
Absolutely. It also highlights the importance of media literacy today. We need to be critical of the information we consume, question the narratives we're presented with, and actively look for different perspectives.
That's so true. It's about taking control of what we're taking in, being aware of the biases that might be shaping the stories we see and hear.
And it's not just about consuming information either. It's about sharing it too.
Yeah.
Talking about these issues, even when it's difficult, refusing to let them fade into the background. Those are meaningful actions that can keep the momentum for change going.
So using our voices, online and offline, to keep the pressure on those in power to address these issues.
Exactly. And it's about supporting the people working directly in the community too. The sources you shared really emphasize the importance of Black-led organizations and initiatives. They're doing incredible work to address the needs of Black youth.
What kind of work are these organizations doing?
Well, they're providing direct support to families of missing youth, offering counseling services, organizing search parties, connecting people with the resources they need. They're also advocating for policy changes that address those systemic issues we talked about earlier. Better mental health services, more culturally sensitive approaches in the justice system, and educational programs designed to support Black youth.
So they're taking a holistic approach,
Yeah.
tackling both the immediate crisis and the long-term solutions.
Exactly. And supporting these organizations is so important. They have a deep understanding of the unique challenges faced by the Black community. They're the ones best equipped to provide the right kind of support and advocacy.
It's about investing in solutions that come from within the community, rather than relying on systems that haven't worked for them in the past.
Precisely. And it's about recognizing the intersectionality of these issues, too. Black women are disproportionately affected by human trafficking, for example. It highlights the need for solutions that address the broader vulnerabilities within the Black community.
That's a crucial point. We can't address the issue of missing Black youth without acknowledging these other forms of violence and exploitation. They disproportionately impact the community.
Absolutely. It's about understanding how all these problems are connected. We need a holistic approach that considers the full spectrum of experiences within the community.
And the sources we're looking at, they seem to suggest that mental health is a big part of this. Many of these disappearances seem to be connected to mental health crises.
That's a critical issue. We have to move past the stigma around mental health. We need to create support systems that are more accessible and culturally sensitive, especially for young people, especially for Black youth.
So creating a society where young people feel supported, heard, and empowered. A place where they can seek help without fear of judgment or shame.
Precisely. It's about building a culture of care and understanding, recognizing that mental health is just as important as physical health.
Looking at all these sources, it's clear this issue is so complex. There's no easy answer, no single solution. But it's also inspiring to see the resilience of the community, their determination to find solutions, and their unwavering commitment to protect their youth.
Yeah, it does feel like we've only scratched the surface. It's such a complex issue, so much to unpack.
Yeah, for sure. And remember, this all started with you, our listener. You brought this to us. You were feeling overwhelmed by all the news and the posts and the petitions. So let's think about it from your perspective. What stands out to you the most from everything we've discussed?
I think what really resonates is that initial feeling of helplessness you expressed. When a problem is this big and this complicated, it's hard to know where to even start. How can one person make a difference?
That's a completely understandable feeling. But the sources you shared, they also offer some hope. They show us the power of community action, the activism on social media, the petitions, the town hall meetings. These are all examples of people coming together to demand change. So instead of feeling paralyzed by the enormity of it all, we can channel that energy into something positive, something productive.
Exactly. Even small actions can contribute to a larger movement. Stay informed, engage in conversations about these issues, support the organizations working directly with the community. These are all meaningful steps you can take.
And it sounds like keeping the conversation going is key. Sharing these stories, talking about them, even when it's hard, not letting these issues fade away.
Absolutely. Awareness is so important. When these stories stay in the public eye, it keeps the pressure on. It pushes those in power to make real changes. Remember that town hall in North York on January 16th at Revival Time Tabernacle? That's a great opportunity to stay involved, to be part of the solution.
It's about showing up for the community in any way you can.
Exactly. And the sources also highlighted the importance of supporting Black-led organizations. These groups have a deep understanding of what's going on. They're in the best position to offer effective and culturally sensitive support.
Groups like the Brampton Black Empowerment Unit, they're really leading the charge here.
Yes, absolutely. It's about investing in solutions that are developed by and for the community. And we can't forget that this isn't an isolated issue either. The fact that Black women are disproportionately affected by human trafficking, it shows us that we need solutions that address the bigger picture, the vulnerabilities that exist within the Black community as a whole.
So it's about understanding that these problems are all connected.
Yeah.
And advocating for change at every level.
Exactly. And finally, we can't lose sight of the importance of mental health. So many of these disappearances are tied to mental health crises. We need to build a society where young people, especially Black youth, feel safe asking for help.
So working towards a future where mental health is no longer stigmatized, where seeking help is seen as a sign of strength.
Exactly. This deep dive, it's been a tough look at a really serious problem, but it's also been a reminder of the strength and resilience of this community. They're coming together, they're committed to protecting their young people, and they haven't given up hope that things can get better. Even in the darkest times, there's always hope. And we have the power to create a better future together.
Thank you for listening to the FBA Stoic Podcast.